Where did the Jewish people actually come from? It is one of the most enduring mysteries of the ancient world. How did a small group of Bronze Age nomads, caught between the warring giants of Egypt and Mesopotamia, evolve into a civilization that would outlive every empire that tried to destroy them? To find the answer, we have to look past the legends and travel 4,000 years into the past, to a radical calling, a desert escape that defied the laws of nature, and a sacred covenant that changed the course of human history forever. This isn't just the story of a religion. It is the DNA of Western civilization. This is the secret origin of the Jews. Imagine a story so ancient, so foundational, it has shaped the very bedrock of global civilization. A narrative etched not just in stone and scroll, but in the heart of a people who have defied empires, survived cataclysms, and carried a singular flame across millennia. It's a journey from the very dawn of settled human existence to the complexities of the modern world. Have you ever truly pondered the origins of the Jewish people? A civilization whose resilience is unparalleled, whose faith is unyielding, and whose identity is intricately woven into the fabric of history itself. Beyond the headlines and the stereotypes lies an extraordinary saga of migration, divine promise, and unwavering spirit. This isn't just a history lesson. It is an unveiling of the very soul of a people. Welcome to Secret Origins, where today we embark on an epic quest to uncover the true origin of the Jews. To understand the genesis of the Jewish people, we must first transport ourselves back some 4,000 years to the vibrant and volatile crucible known as the ancient Near East. This wasn't a barren wasteland, but a region pulsating with life, innovation, and monumental civilizations. To the east, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, lay Mesopotamia, often heralded as the cradle of civilization. Here, towering ziggurats pierced the sky, and bustling states like Ur and Babylon were epicenters of trade, law, and culture. Think of it, a world of advanced cuneiform writing, sophisticated legal codes, and monumental architecture. Simultaneously, to the southwest, lay the majestic realm of Egypt, with its mighty pharaohs, monumental pyramids, and a civilization built around the life-giving Nile River. And caught between these two colossal powers was a smaller, yet profoundly significant, strip of land, Canaan, nestled along the fertile eastern Mediterranean coast. This narrow corridor was not just a geographical bridge. It was a cultural crossroads, a vibrant tapestry of peoples, languages, and religions. It is within this rich, interconnected context that the foundational story of the Jewish people begins. According to the ancient texts, particularly the Hebrew Bible, also known as the Tanakh, the narrative of the Jewish people commences with one remarkable individual, Abraham. He resided in the thriving metropolis of Ur, a cosmopolitan hub of Mesopotamian civilization, where polytheistic worship was the norm. But Abraham's destiny was not to remain a mere citizen of Ur. In a moment of profound spiritual awakening, he believed he heard a unique and radical calling, a voice from a single, all-powerful God, instructing him to abandon his home, his family, and all that was familiar, and embark on a journey to a new, unnamed land, Canaan. This was a revolutionary concept in an era dominated by pantheons of local deities. This journey, a monumental act of faith and obedience from Ur to Canaan, isn't just a historical migration. It is one of the most defining moments in Jewish tradition, symbolizing a rupture with the past and an embrace of a unique destiny. But what truly set Abraham apart, distinguishing him forever in the annals of history and faith, was not just his obedience, but the extraordinary event that followed. God made a covenant, a sacred and binding agreement, with Abraham. In this unparalleled covenant, God promised to make Abraham the father of a great and numerous nation. a people who would be a source of blessing to all the families of the earth. In return, Abraham and his descendants were to worship and serve only this one God, a radical departure from the prevailing polytheism. This covenant is far more than a historical pact. It is the very bedrock of Jewish identity, the foundational promise that would forever shape their faith, their future, and their unique relationship with the divine, as documented in Genesis. Genesis 12:1-3, 15:1-6. This divine calling and the subsequent covenant established an indelible link between a man, his descendants, a specific land, and a singular God, a revolutionary concept that would reverberate through history for millennia. It's this profound theological and historical turning point that truly marks the beginning of what would become the Jewish people. Abraham's extraordinary story didn't culminate with him. It was merely the beginning of a lineage destined for greatness. He had two sons, Ishmael, from whom the Arab peoples are traditionally descended, and Isaac, who would become the direct inheritor of the divine covenant and would carry on the Jewish lineage. The significance of Isaac is paramount. It is through his line that the Jewish people primarily trace their ancestry, and his narrative serves as a crucial continuation of the sacred promises made to Abraham. Isaac's importance in Jewish tradition cannot be overstated. He embodies the unbroken chain of divine promise, illustrating the continuity of faith across generations. His life, marked by trials and blessings, solidifies the bond between God and Abraham's chosen descendants. Isaac, in turn, fathered two sons, Esau and Jacob. It is Jacob, later bestowed with the name Israel by God himself, after a profound struggle, Genesis 32-28, who would become the patriarch of the 12 sons, who would eventually lead the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob's life, as chronicled in Genesis, is a testament to struggle, transformation, and divine favor. His journey, marked by hardship, sibling rivalry, and spiritual encounters, ultimately laid the familial and spiritual groundwork for the nascent Jewish people. Each of his 12 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin would become the progenitor of a distinct tribe. Together, these tribes formed the core of early Israelite society, bound by shared ancestry, the covenant with God, and a burgeoning sense of collective identity. These tribes would go on to form the nation of Israel, a concept that was both a political entity and a spiritual community. Through their individual and collective stories, the Jewish people's deep connection to the land of Canaan, the promised land, and their burgeoning faith in the one God, continued to deepen and evolve. The narratives of these patriarchs, far from being mere family histories, are foundational myths that explain the origins of their name, their peoplehood, and their unique relationship with the divine, as extensively detailed in the books of Genesis and Exodus. They represent the transformation from a singular promise to a patriarchal family, and ultimately to the foundational elements of a distinct people. At a time of severe famine gripping the land, the family of Jacob, also known as Israel, found themselves seeking refuge and sustenance in Egypt. This migration was facilitated by Jacob's son, Joseph, who, through a dramatic turn of events, from being sold into slavery by his brothers to interpreting dreams for the Pharaoh, had risen to an extraordinary position of power within the Egyptian government. Thanks to Joseph's foresight and influence, the Israelites were not merely tolerated but welcomed, settling in the fertile region of Goshen. Here they prospered and multiplied, growing into a significant population. However, as generations passed, the memory of Joseph's contributions faded, and this period of prosperity tragically devolved into profound hardship. A new pharaoh ascended to power, one who harbored no remembrance or appreciation for Joseph's legacy. Driven by fear of the burgeoning strength and sheer numbers of the Israelites, this pharaoh, initiated a brutal policy. He enslaved them, forcing them into crushing labor and systemic oppression, tasks that included the construction of massive Egyptian cities and monuments. The once welcomed family of Israel now languished under the yoke of forced servitude. The 12 tribes of Israel, descended from Jacob's sons, suffered immensely under this ruthless Egyptian rule. Yet, even in the depths of slavery, their nascent Jewish identity remarkably endured. It was sustained by their shared lineage, the ancestral memories of Abraham's covenant, and the promises made to their patriarchs. Their collective cries for freedom and deliverance echoed through the land of Egypt, a poignant testament to their unbroken spirit. Deliverance arrived in the form of a truly remarkable and iconic leader, Moses. His birth itself was marked by extraordinary circumstances. He was born at a time when Pharaoh had decreed the killing of all Hebrew male infants. To save his life, Moses' mother placed him in a basket and set him adrift on the Nile River. Providentially, he was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter and raised within the opulent walls of the Egyptian palace, living as an Egyptian prince. Yet despite his royal upbringing and the comfort it afforded, Moses could not escape the growing awareness of his true Hebrew identity and the plight of his people. As Moses matured, he bore witness to the horrific suffering endured by his kin. In an impulsive act of rage and solidarity, he killed an Egyptian overseer who was brutalizing a Hebrew slave. Fearing for his life and facing retribution, Moses fled to the desolate desert, where he lived as a shepherd for many years. It was in this wilderness, far from the grandeur of Egypt, that Moses experienced a life-altering encounter, a burning bush that was aflame but miraculously not consumed. From this mystical bush, God spoke directly to Moses, commissioning him to return to Egypt and lead his people to freedom. Moses, alongside his brother Aaron, confronted Pharaoh with a simple yet profoundly powerful demand: "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart remained hardened, and he defiantly refused. In response, Egypt was struck by a series of 10 devastating plagues, each more catastrophic than the last, from the waters of the Nile turning to blood to swarms of locusts and impenetrable darkness, bringing Egypt to its knees. Yet, Pharaoh remained unyielding until the ultimate, most devastating plague. The 10th plague, the death of the firstborn across Egypt, finally broke Pharaoh's resolve. The Israelites were spared through a divine instruction. They marked their doorposts with lamb's blood, and the angel of death passed over their homes, sparing their firstborn. This pivotal moment became the origin of the quintessential Jewish festival of Passover, eternally commemorating the night when death bypassed the Israelites and the promise of freedom became tangible. Broken by grief and the scale of the devastation, Pharaoh finally relented and commanded the Israelites to depart. With urgency, the Israelites gathered their meager belongings and exited Egypt, marking the end of centuries of brutal slavery. But their newfound freedom was not without further harrowing trials. As they journeyed into the wilderness, Pharaoh, gripped by regret, dispatched his formidable army in hot pursuit. In a miraculous and climactic act, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the waters dramatically parted, allowing the Israelites to cross on dry ground. Pharaoh's chariots, intent on recapture, followed them into the seabed, but the waters miraculously crashed back, utterly drowning the entire Egyptian army. This awe-inspiring escape was a defining, indelible moment in the story of the Jewish people, the very instant they transcended from enslaved masses to a free and sovereign nation. The Exodus, as this epochal event is known, is absolutely central to Jewish identity, symbolizing liberation from oppression, divine intervention, and the forging of a new destiny guided by God, deeply enshrined in the Jewish collective memory, and celebrated annually as documented in the Book of Exodus, e.g., Exodus 14. The escape from Egypt, monumental as it was was not the culmination of their journey. The true transformation of the Israelites into a distinct people, bound by divine law and an unbreakable covenant, occurred in the wilderness. It was there, amidst the stark and humbling desert landscape, that they encountered the most significant moment in their spiritual history, the giving of the law at the foot of Mount Sinai, a site shrouded in divine presence and awe. Moses ascended to receive the 10 Commandments directly from God. These laws, famously carved into stone tablets, were not mere legal pronouncements. They were the moral and spiritual bedrock, the very foundation of the Jewish people. They meticulously outlined the principles that would guide every facet of their lives, from their intimate relationship with their one God to their ethical treatment of one another. These commandments, as detailed in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5, transcended human legislation. They were divine mandates for a holy people. Beyond the specific commandments themselves, this monumental event at Sinai represented the formalization of a new, profound covenant between God and the Israelites. It was here that the Jewish people were truly forged into a unique nation, distinct from all others, bound not just by shared ancestry and the memory of the Exodus, but by their collective, unwavering faith and adherence to these divine laws. This covenant at Sinai reaffirmed and deepened the unique, almost intimate relationship between the Jewish people and their God. It was a relationship rooted in the enduring promises made generations earlier to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and now formalized, codified, and made tangible through the law given to Moses. This period also saw the construction of the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary designed to house the Ark of the Covenant, which contained the tablets of the law, serving as a constant reminder of God's presence among them during their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. After decades of arduous wandering in the wilderness, a period of purification and preparation, the Israelites finally stood at the precipice of their ancestral homeland, the land of Canaan, the very land promised by God to Abraham. Under the inspired leadership of Joshua, Moses' successor, they crossed the Jordan River, another miraculous passage, and began the challenging process of conquering and settling the land. This era was characterized by a series of intense battles and strategic conquests, as the Israelites sought to establish their foothold amidst the existing Canaanite cities and tribes. This was not a simple stroll into an empty land, but a hard-fought establishment of their national home, as vividly recounted in the book of Joshua. As the Israelites gradually gained control of Canaan, they transitioned from a nomadic desert encampment to a more settled and agrarian society. For many years they operated under a decentralized, loose tribal system, with charismatic judges rising as leaders during times of crisis and external threats. But over time, the complexities of governance and the persistent external pressures led the people to desire a more unified, centralized leadership, culminating in the establishment of the Israelite monarchy, moving them into a new era of statehood. The aspiration for a unified central leadership culminated in the establishment of the Israelite monarchy. The first king of Israel was Saul, a man chosen by the prophet Samuel, who initially showed great promise. However, Saul's reign was tragically marked by internal strife, personal failings, and conflict with the Philistines. It was his successor, King David, who truly transformed the fledgling monarchy, uniting the disparate 12 tribes of Israel into a strong, cohesive, and formidable kingdom. David is undeniably one of the most pivotal figures in Jewish history, celebrated not only for his remarkable military successes, like his legendary victory over Goliath, but profoundly for making Jerusalem the eternal political and spiritual heart of the nation. His reign, often romanticized but historically significant, established a dynastic line and a powerful national identity, as detailed in the books of Samuel. David meticulously established Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a city that would forever hold immense, almost sacred, significance for the Jewish people through every subsequent epoch. But his monumental contributions did not end there. His brilliant son, Solomon, inherited a kingdom blessed with unprecedented peace and extraordinary prosperity. It was during Solomon's reign that the pinnacle of early Israelite achievement was realized, the construction of the first temple. The temple was the crowning architectural and spiritual achievement of Solomon's reign, transcending mere structure to become the very epicenter of Jewish worship. Within its hallowed precincts, the most sacred artifact, the Ark of the Covenant, was housed, establishing the temple as the singular focal point of religious life for the Israelites. This magnificent structure symbolized the nation's profound connection to God and its covenant, marking a veritable golden age for the United Kingdom of Israel, a period of cultural flourishing and unrivaled national identity as chronicled with awe in 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles. However, this golden age, for all its splendor, proved tragically impermanent. Following Solomon's death, the seeds of internal tension, economic grievances exacerbated by Solomon's grand building projects, and tribal rivalries blossomed into a devastating division of the kingdom. The once united Israel fractured into 2 distinct entities. The northern kingdom, which retained the name Israel with its capital, eventually established in Samaria, and the southern kingdom, known as Judah, which continued to center its religious and political life in Jerusalem. This wasn't merely a political split, it also heralded a religious divergence. While Judah generally maintained its allegiance to the temple in Jerusalem and the traditions of the covenant, the northern kingdom of Israel frequently succumbed to idolatry and introduced alternative places of worship, often incorporating local pagan practices. This catastrophic split critically weakened both kingdoms, rendering them far more vulnerable to the relentless external threats posed by the burgeoning empires of the ancient Near East. The united strength forged by David and Solomon was gone, replaced by internal division that would ultimately set the stage for unimaginable tragedies. The division of the kingdom proved to be a fatal vulnerability. The first devastating blow arrived in 722 BCE, when the mighty Assyrian Empire, a ruthless and expansionist power, swept through and utterly conquered the northern kingdom of Israel. The inhabitants of the north were brutally dispersed, forcibly deported, and many were assimilated into the surrounding cultures, their distinct Israelite identity gradually dissolving. This event gave rise to the poignant historical mystery of the so-called lost tribes of Israel. The southern kingdom of Judah, largely due to a few righteous kings and strategic alliances, managed to endure for another century and a half, maintaining the legacy of the Davidic line and the temple in Jerusalem. But its reprieve was temporary. In 586 BCE, an even more formidable empire, the Babylonian Empire, under the formidable King Nebuchadnezzar, invaded Judah. They laid siege to Jerusalem, the spiritual heartland, for an agonizing period, eventually breaching its walls and unleashing a catastrophic wave of destruction. Solomon's magnificent first temple, the symbol of God's presence and the centerpiece of Jewish worship, was utterly destroyed, reduced to ashes and rubble. The city itself was left in ruins, and the vast majority of the Jewish people were forcibly exiled, marched in chains to Babylon. The destruction of the temple and the subsequent exile to Babylon were cataclysmic events. They could have signaled the definitive end of Jewish identity, the scattering of a people into oblivion. Yet remarkably, this period of profound crisis paradoxically became a truly transformative moment. It was in the crucible of this exile that the Jewish people began to develop new, enduring ways of practicing and preserving their faith. Without the physical presence of the temple, their spiritual life shifted. They turned to communal worship, meeting in nascent synagogues, and deepened their intensive study of the Torah, the sacred text that encapsulated their laws and history. This marked a profound shift from cultic worship centered on sacrifice, to a more intellectual and communal form of religious practice. After the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BCE, the Jewish people found themselves far from their homeland, as unwilling captives in Babylon. For many, this exile was not merely a loss of territory, it was an existential and profound spiritual crisis. The temple in Jerusalem, the very heart of their religious existence, was gone, and the tangible connection between the Jewish people and their God seemed on the verge of being irrevocably severed. Yet, even amidst the grandeur of Babylon, the Jewish community displayed astonishing resilience, finding innovative ways to adapt and survive. Without a centralized temple, they pivoted to new forms of worship, intentionally centering their spiritual life around the meticulous study of the Torah. It was during this pivotal period that the synagogue began to emerge as the primary place of communal gathering, prayer, and learning, allowing the Jews to powerfully preserve and transmit their religious identity across generations. The Torah became the cornerstone of Jewish life, a sacred and portable text that could be carried, studied, and revered anywhere, maintaining a vital sense of continuity, even in the heart of exile. Though geographically distanced from their ancestral home, the Jewish people never forgot Jerusalem. They steadfastly continued to practice their faith, observe the Sabbath, and meticulously pass down their traditions to future generations. In this profound way, exile transcended being merely a time of mourning. It forged a period of unparalleled spiritual resilience. The Jews learned to thrive without a physical temple, carrying their identity and their covenant within their unwavering faith, their meticulous adherence to the laws, and their indomitable community. And it was during this period that the very term Jew, derived from Judah, became increasingly prominent, solidifying their identity in the absence of a united kingdom and temple. Then, in 539 BCE, a new colossal power ascended to global dominance, the Persian Empire. Under the visionary leadership of King Cyrus the Great, Babylon itself was conquered, marking the dawn of a new geopolitical order. And with this conquest came a truly remarkable and pivotal moment in Jewish history. Cyrus, in an act that astonished his new subjects and fulfilled prophetic declarations, issued a decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return to their ancestral homeland, and crucially, to rebuild their temple. This act of unparalleled generosity and divine alignment was widely interpreted by many Jews as a direct sign of divine intervention, fulfilling the promises articulated by their prophets during the long, arduous years of exile, notably mentioned in Ezra 1:1-4. A significant, though not total, number of Jews enthusiastically returned to Jerusalem, burning with the desire to restore what had been so tragically lost. The monumental task before them was immense. Jerusalem lay largely in ruins, and the temple, once the vibrant center of their religious life, had to be painstakingly rebuilt from its very foundations. They faced opposition from local populations and internal struggles, but driven by faith and the prophecies of renewal, they persevered. Despite the daunting challenges, the Second Temple was finally completed around 516 BCE, ushering in a new era. Once again, Jerusalem was reinstated as the vibrant heart of Jewish worship and national identity. The rebuilding of the Second Temple was far more than a mere physical reconstruction. It profoundly symbolized a spiritual renewal, a powerful testament to the enduring covenant between God and the Jewish people. It marked their resilience, their return to the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and a rejuvenation of their collective spirit after the crucible of exile. This journey, from Abraham's initial migration from Ur to the Israelites, establishing their sovereign home in Canaan, enduring the enslavement in Egypt, receiving the law at Mount Sinai, experiencing the glory of the First Temple, and the subsequent trauma of its destruction, and the Babylonian exile, to their triumphant return, and the rebuilding of the Second Temple, marks the true origin and evolution of the Jewish people. It's a compelling narrative woven with threads of extraordinary resilience, unwavering faith in a singular God, and a profound sense of unity despite dispersion. The Jewish identity forged during these early, formative years not only profoundly shaped the subsequent Jewish experience, but has also exerted an immeasurable impact on world history, influencing countless cultures, shaping major religions like Christianity and Islam, and leaving an indelible mark on societies across the globe. From the whispers of Abraham's covenant to the majestic presence of the Second Temple, the story of the Jewish people is a living testament to an enduring legacy. The origin of the Jewish people is not just a tale of antiquity. It is a vibrant, living legacy that continues to resonate today. Their journey from Ur to Jerusalem, through exodus and exile, is a powerful reminder of the human spirit, its capacity for survival, adaptation, and unwavering faith. If this deep dive into the true origins of the Jewish people has illuminated, inspired, or even simply piqued your curiosity, please take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments below, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel, Secret Origins, for more profound explorations into the foundational stories that have shaped our world. Which origin story should we uncover next? Your suggestions guide our journey. Keep your minds open, your curiosity alive, and until we meet again, thank you for watching.